Welcome to this Wednesday webinar where we will take a closer look at the Moodle Gradebook and some of its unique features. My name is Kim Tompkinson, and joining me today are Mark Cooper, Ryan Randall, and Paul Lynch. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about the purpose for today's webinar, which ultimately is to save you time and possible frustration when using the Moodle Gradebook. Using the gradebook effectively will help you save time, but it also benefits students because it allows them to more easily keep track of their progress in your course. Fall 2023 brought some pretty obvious Moodle changes, which you may have noticed this semester. If you have been following our Wednesday webinars, you may have seen our sessions on Moodle ISU upgrades for fall and what the Moodle ISU Gradebook can do. If not, you can watch them on demand on our YouTube channel, which I will talk a little more about later. So next, Mark is going to give us a tour of the Moodle Gradebook menus.
Thank you, Kim. One modification in the gradebook might initially catch your attention due to the altered appearance is the gradebook menu. And this is the original menu before the update. The gradebook had undergone a makeover with this last Moodle update, and this is the current menu. And at first glance, the bold menu on the left-hand side may appear to some as a title, like it was in the previous version. However, this is in fact the drop-down menu. So I think that's one of the major things that kind of caught people off guard was the change in the look and feel of the menu. The revised menu offers enhanced user friendliness, especially once you become accustomed to the new layout. It will now allow you to do searches, and you can also conduct filters to further refine your search. Up next, Ryan will troubleshoot another item in the Moodle Gradebook.
Great, thanks, Mark. So what I'd like to remind everyone is the edit mode is our friend. Most of the surprises that I've experienced and that we've spoken about amongst ourselves here at the ITRC and with faculty as well is when you anticipate one particular view operating in a certain way and it doesn't after the most recent updates. Usually edit mode can help fix that. So here's an example. If, for instance, you're looking at the grader report and you can see multiple columns and you're used to being able to click into these cells and edit the numbers there directly, you might be surprised to see that they're either grayed out or just unavailable. What you can instead do, if you pay attention in the top of the screenshot, that's where the edit mode always lives. Will be in the upper right corner of your screen. And so if you turn it on, then all of a sudden, all of those cells become editable. So that's whenever you see a screen that's not behaving the way you anticipate it doing, I'd highly recommend trying to use the edit mode toggle to see if that makes it feel more familiar and lets you accomplish what you're trying to do. The other really common surprise that we've seen so far is that if you click on one of the names of one of these columns, so for instance, if you were to click on, in this particular screenshot, the first column, group PowerPoint presentations or group project report, those first two, those, if you click on that, sometimes in other views, it would have taken you directly to those items. We'll show you how to do that. Paul will show you how to do that in a bit. But currently, if you click on those, what will happen is it will reload and it will sort the column. So if you anticipate that new behavior, that it'll resort it by ascending or descending, that can be a useful tool. But if you're expecting it to take you to a specific other view, Paul will help you understand ways to get into single view for different items. So now I'll go ahead and let him show you that with more screenshots.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. Before I switch over to my slides, you may notice that there are a lot of kebab menus. You may also refer to these as ellipses or simply a set of 3 dots. All of those dots take us to different menus. So looking at the top of our grader report, we have some rows and some cells. Each of these represent different levels of organization of graded items within our course. This top row that we have is going to be that course level organization. So in this case, in my screenshot, our course is called Teaching Online with Moodle ISU. So any graded item will be put at that course level, be organized at that course level. Below that, we can see on my screenshot, we have module 1. So if you have any categories in your gradebook, you'll see an additional row. And then your assignments, if you've organized it like that way, organize it like that in your gradebook setup, you'll have your assignments organized by category. And this will be reflected in this middle row in your grader report. And then below that, we'll have cells, and this will be individual assignments. Looking at what's inside those kebab menus, the first 2 rows, so that grade level row and the category level row, if you click on those kebabs, you'll have 3 options pop up. The first one, it'll show grades. So anything that is within that category, it'll show the grades. You can switch to have it show totals, so it'd be points rather than grades, or you could have grades and totals showing at the same time. So this may also be like a letter grade, for example. But if we move down and we click on that kebab menu for an assignment, so in this case, I selected a quiz, I have a few different options pop up. So the first is a single view item for this quiz. This one I'm most excited about because I'm going to go into detail about it next. But other things that we can select is we can view the quiz results. We can change the order of the items within that row. We can change it to be in ascending order or descending order. Or if we want to hide that column, so to speak, we can also select to collapse it. Something I want to point out is right next to the item I selected, we have an introduction forum. If I were to click the kebab menu for that item, we would not see the view quiz results option since that's not a quiz activity. So you'd only see 4 options instead of the 5 that are reflected in the screenshot. But next, let's go ahead and see what a single view item looks like. So just to give us kind of some orientation for this, looking at our single view, starting on the left side of our screen, where it actually says single view, that is similar to what Mark had pointed out. So here it's going to tell me what I'm looking at, right? If I wanted to change where I'm at or navigate to a different part of the gradebook, I can use that to navigate to and from different places. On the right side of that, you'll see my name. So what I could do is I can choose myself or an individual student and click on that drop-down menu, and then I can move from student to student and just see their single view report. On the very far, you'll see the words view by, and we have 2 options, users and grade items. The users option is highlighted, and so that's just telling me I'm viewing it by user. And if you go below that, the data will be, so it'll have my name, and if there's a profile picture, it'll have that included. Right now I have my robot, and you'll be able to see all the graded items for that user. Now, let's say we go ahead and we select that grade items just to change our single view. Generally, it's really similar. We can still see we're in that single view. Going back to the left-hand side of our screen, we're in that single view option. Instead of selecting a user right next to it like I had on the user view, I can now select a grade item. So any graded items within that course, I'd be able to select, and I'd see the different types of graded items for that course and the grades that any of our students received. Just to make sure I touch on it, if you go back to the far right side of our screen, you'll notice the view by option, the grade items is highlighted. Below that, where we previously saw the username or the student name, we now have the name of the grade item. So in this case, I have a conversation forum as my graded item, and we can see the users that have completed it. So I'll see the student name, the grade they received, and the range of points available for that grade. And then we would also be able to see if any feedback was included, if the grade was an override, or if we needed to exclude this user or this grade for this activity. Next, I'm going to pass things back off to Kim, who's going to talk about extra credit.
Thanks, Paul. So one of the common questions we get is, how can I add extra credit? You can add a manual grade item and mark it as extra credit, or you can make a current activity extra credit. So starting with the manual grade item option, in the gradebook setup, when you select add a grade item, you will get the option to add extra credit. And then you'll see a screen to give the item a title, enter the max grade, and the total points possible of extra credit is another thing that you'll enter here. By default, Moodle has 100 there, but you can enter any number. And these points are not being added to the denominator or to the total points possible of your class. Then in the parent category section, there's a box to check to make the item extra credit. And this is something that's really important. If you don't see the box to check the item as extra credit, go ahead, save the item. And sometimes there's a conflict with the aggregation method that prevents the box from showing up. But if the box didn't appear, or if you would like to make a current item activity extra credit, the process is still the same. So you would go back in and edit the item and then mark it as extra credit, because that extra credit box will appear when you go back into edit. So on the gradebook setup screen, locate, this is for the turning one item into an extra credit item now. So you'll make a current activity an extra credit activity, but that process, like I just went through, is going to be exactly the same. But you'll locate the item and select the three dots to find that edit grade item or edit the item. And then this takes you to a screen where you can find the extra credit box in the parent category section, as I mentioned before. So how do you know if an item is extra credit? You'll know that something is extra credit because you'll see that plus sign next to the item that you can see on those bottom two items there on that screenshot. And you can see here that module 1 reflection and the manual extra credit grade item that we just created are marked as extra credit. And since this gradebook is set up with the natural aggregation, which adds up all the points and divides them by the total, you can add up the non-extra credit points and see that 15 points from the 2 extra credit items are not included in that category total. If you're using a different aggregation method for your gradebook, this last option is not as easy, but we'll talk about aggregation methods and extra credit in a moment. And next, what do students see? So here on the screen, you can see the 2 items are clearly marked as extra credit in parentheses, and you'll notice that our fake student here has lots of extra credit, which places her overall percentage for module 1 category at 117.14%. And this is the user report, which can be accessed through the menu on the top left, and then you can see one specific user at a time. So now let's talk a little bit about extra credit and the aggregation methods. You can add extra credit using each of the 3 aggregation methods, but some are easier than others. As you saw, natural aggregation makes it really easy. But if you're using simple weighted mean of grades, there are just a few questions related to the difference between points or percentage points. Do you want to add just a couple of points to an exam, or are you looking at adding extra credit so a student with an overall 88% now has a 90% with the 2 points of extra credit? And if you're using weighted mean of grades, this can be done, but it requires some additional questions and perhaps some additional categories. If you use weighted mean of grades and want to add extra credit, we encourage you to call or make an appointment with a full-time staff at the ITRC to ensure that your grades are calculating as you expect them to. So for any gradebook questions, we're happy to meet with you, so don't hesitate to reach out to any of our full-time staff at any time. And now let's talk about an alternative to adding extra credit. So if you're using weighted mean of grades or any other aggregation method, you might consider the alternative of dropping the lowest. This works nicely if all the items in the category have the same maximum grade. And just like the extra credit, the students will see which items are being dropped from their grade calculation. And we actually recommend using keep the highest instead of dropping the lowest, as this doesn't start dropping grades, until the students reach that minimum number of graded items. This gives them a better sense of their current grade at the beginning of the semester. So if you would like to learn more about the Quality Plus program, you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen. You can also visit our website, which I will put in the chat right now. The Quality Plus program at ISU is part professional development, part quality assurance for one of your ISU courses, and helps you improve your abilities with online teaching and developing your classes. So the program is really designed to increase faculty knowledge, skills, and abilities in online teaching. It also increases faculty knowledge, skills, and abilities in developing online courses, and it helps faculty create quality ISU online courses. And if you would like to learn more about what we have to offer at the ITRC, we would be happy to hear from you. We would look forward to having you visit our Tiger Tracks articles, and you can do that by looking at our website. And then we also have a video training library of several videos that we have put together that will help walk you through some of the nuances of Moodle and how to use it better. And we also would love to meet with you, so you can come and visit us at our offices in the O'Boler Library in room B17. You can also send us an email at itrc@isu.edu or call us on the phone at 208-282-5880. And as this is the last Wednesday webinar for this semester, we'll be resuming them for the spring 2024 semester. So be watching for those updates to come out in January. And we will publish those updates in ISU Today and in the ISU events calendar. So thank you for watching and for joining us today.